We're at Memphis Blues here with George Sue and Heffelfinger, and we're just catching up about barbecue tips. They've got some new spices, and I thought I would just start by asking you, how the heck did you get into barbecue?
Actually, it was a trip back from New Orleans, and we got stuck in the airport, and we were looking for food. Didn't want fast food. Out of the corner of our eye, we saw this little hole in the wall that said Neely's Barbecue, Interstate Barbecue, wasn't it?
Yeah, Neely's Interstate.
And all they were doing was pulled pork sandwiches, slaw and beans. So we took a couple of orders, got on the plane. Wow, chowed down, and we knew right then. Gotta bring this to Vancouver.
Much in Vancouver at all
there was really not. Well, there was a little place down in Kitts called Fatso's, but
long time ago.
It wasn't.
Okay, right near the beach there, almost, wasn't it?
No, he's still down on Broadway
in
McDonald area.
Oh.
But really, it was very inconsequential.
Okay. Huh.
And George and I, even while we were doing the build out here, went down there and ate, and it was mediocre and very forgettable.
Because everybody wants to dumb it down and Canadianize it, or like if you
take
want
the shortcuts.
If you want to steal a concept, you gotta have integrity at least. What an oxymoron that is.
Steal it well.
Yes, steal it well.
So it was not authentic, and it wasn't very well executed. So we just kind of.
And with barbecue, like, are there some golden rules or tips for home barbecuers that you can pass on?
Don't boil the meat. It's all about slow, low, indirect.
So don't boil the ribs and then throw them on.
Throw them on. That's the Canadian
living.
Yeah.
No, Canadian living. But really, the key here is if you are doing sort of indirect heat, slow cooking, just make sure you don't dry your meat out.
So keep on with the sauces or the.
That's a mop. And then really the smoking only takes an hour or an hour and a half out of your total of 3 hours. So the rest of the time you should, frankly, heavy foil it,
wrap it,
put it back in, and it sweats. You've already picked up the flavor and the crust in the first hour and a half. The last hour and a half can be just sweating in its own moisture, and so it doesn't evaporate out and become dry.
Okay, so that's where you get the tasty pulled pork.
It's really important.
You often get.
We don't do it that way because we have a professional pit, but when you're doing it at home.
At home, okay.
And in that pit, there's a lot of ambient moisture that's created because we do 500 pounds at a time. So
it sort of steams in its own.
And we leave it in there for 14 hours. And we also do it with a fat cap on the meat. Don't trim it. Because if you do, think about a really lean cut of meat for 14 hours.
The difference between chicken breasts and chicken thighs.
Yeah, exactly. That's very true. And also
skin on, skin off.
Frankly, small pieces are terrible, but a whole chicken's much better. Right?
Get the moisture. And I'm trying to do a salt encrusted chicken. I bought all the salt, and we'll see how that works.
See how that works.
Sounds ideal because it'll keep the steam in. What about the best cuts of meat when you're barbecuing? Do you have favorites here? Or?
Well, you use the cheaper cuts of meat, right? The whole trick in barbecuing is to make those cuts tender, tasty. It's really slave food. It goes way back when plantation time.
The cheapest cuts went to the poorest people.
Yeah, because they would, like, the landowner would have the animal, and they would butcher it up, and they would take the loin or the steak.
Center cut chop.
And then they'd give the offcuts, which are the
the front shoulder, very tough.
Ribs.
The ribs, not that much meat.
Tail.
The brisket, front, very tough. All of that stuff went to the
all the
slaves.
Stuff that's being worked. You're working as an animal.
And they made it tender and tasty. Because what else? Where else are you gonna get protein? Right? You're working on a cotton plantation, let's say. Nothing else to eat except bugs. Protein, lots of protein.
You even said that like a southern
bugs and bourbon.
Now, what about sides? You do a big, the beans, and are there some other favorites that you have?
Collard greens.
Yeah.
Love collard greens.
Collards. Coleslaw is always. Every menu has it.
Yeah, and it doesn't. A special secret ingredient in yours?
Ours is creamy, and there's a lot of them that are vinegary. That sort of sweet sour vinaigrette. And it's easy to do one. We have recipes in our book for sweet sour, but we decided on a creamy one just because it's kind of what we're used to.
In the South, there were places that we ate at where they just poured sweet pickle juice in it. Not my cup of tea.
Into the dressing.
Into the dressing, and then just mixed it up. And I thought, not for me.
Yeah.
Or a real simple ones where they just use white sugar and vinegar.
Yeah, that's it.
And pepper and the way
I know. I always need a little bit of oil in there. Even if you're making an Asian style, throwing sesame oil or something like that is always good. Yeah. And then beverages. We love the Riesling with barbecue.
Yeah, well, that's
beer and barbecue.
Well, I don't drink beer. So when I have an alcoholic beverage with dinner, it's always wine. Always. I might have a bourbon after or before, maybe. Yeah, bourbon and soda, say, but after all as a digestive. But during a meal, I always have wine, whether red or white. I have no preference one way or the other. But it's the acidity in wine that helps enhance the flavors. You know, there's just
cut
something
through
about
some of the fat.
Yeah, because I mean, when you drink a beer, it doesn't do a thing for the flavor.
Just fills you up.
But when you drink
Yeah,
wine,
I'm not good with having beer and food because I mean you only have so much room in your stomach and you end up
Exactly.
but I can sit on the patio and drink a few beers.
Yeah,
if I'm really
and everybody
thirsty.
does that on a hot day, right?
Yeah.
No
Yeah.
problem.
What about particular types of meat with particular types of wine?
Of course, there's nothing wrong with the 2,000-year-old rules, which are sort of red with red, white with white. But now that we're kind of hipper and a little more educated, we can play with that a bit. So the lighter reds go with some of the lighter meats, and some of the fish and some of the white wine, traditional white wine foods. So a Pinot Noir is really good to bridge the gap between that and some either chicken or fish, and then. It's the same thing. Some of the big, heavy whites would go well with some of the richer
like an
red
oak
meats.
chard.
Sure, oak chard, that
something
kind
like
of thing. And even a Viognier, a really powerful Viognier as the alcohol.
One of the sort of more visceral.
Yeah.
But we have in the past poured a lot of Malbecs and Carmeneres here. Brisket, ribs, fabulous as well.
I guess Malbec, Argentinian meats.
Yep.
Sure, but I mean, if we're talking about basic, spare rib dinner, as the Canadians would say, I'd still have Riesling with it because Riesling and pork is great.
And you've got a new line of spices. You had the sauces
Spices and
already.
rubs, yeah.
So tell us a little bit about the various.
We have 2 rubs right now that
okay.
are out there. One is an all-purpose that you can use on poultry, pork, even seafood, sprinkle on salmon.
Good on potatoes.
Yep. And then we also have one that's a little more savory.
Yeah.
Has some chili flakes in it,
Cumin.
cumin, brown sugar instead of white sugar, and it's what we call the brisket and lamb rub.
And
it's
was
for the
this
heartier
something
cuts.
you were using here?
It's always had 2
both of
rubs
them
here.
Okay.
Both of them are in-house, and then the 2 sauces, of course, are famous barbecue sauce, the red sauce, Memphis-based.
And the mustard.
And then the Carolina mustard's fabulous. Got that nice acidity, and it's great for cutting the richness of lamb or beef or anything like that. And they're all available at all the stores, and we also have gift baskets that are available as well.
Okay, so we're looking at
$30.95.
$30.95 for
all 4 plus
big,
the basket and
right?
wrap.
And you could throw in a butcher certificate or something.
We can do whatever.
Someone
Yeah, we
really-
can add it to whatever you like.
Yeah.
But that's
And just a couple fun questions. What about things like your first food memory, like when you were younger?
Oh man.
Things
Time
I
Life
can
Foods of
remember.
the World. My dad had the series, the Time Life, edited by Craig Claiborne. I asked for, we were allowed to have whatever we wanted on our birthday, but my mom somehow managed to get scallops, and I had them for the first time then, and it was game changing.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Huh. So always.
I have too many.
Oh, he has,
I
because this is
grew up
Chinese culture.
Yeah.
Right?
food, and it's just everything.
Yeah.
But probably one that was pretty immediate was when I was very, very young. My nanny took me out, and we ate street food, and it was like little sattés, like chicken skewers and all that. That was my first experience, because it's about cooking over coals that really had that great flavor. And I think that's something that I remember right away, like, wow, this is like not just chicken that you get at home or anywhere else. It's got that flavor. And of course all the marinades. It's that culture.
So that got you right into barbecue right there.
Right there.
Well, at least thinking about it all the time, like, wow, that was really, really, really good.
And what about barbecue cities? Any favorites that you've obviously down south in the U.S., but
Well, way through
maybe
Memphis,
if
pretty
I take it outside of North America to. Have you ventured over to Argentina and?
Oh, for the open pit stuff.
Yeah.
Their barbecue's a little different,
I never
right?
have.
They like to eat everything like well
Well
cooked.
done.
So,
Okay.
and they like to eat things that are not aged, like in Italy as well. Like if they, like if you want a steak,
It's young.
it's young,
Right,
and it's
okay.
got chew, and they like that.
Huh. Okay.
And in Argentina too, they don't eat it bloody; it's cooked through, and that's not my cup of tea.
And all the
Flavor-wise,
grass-fed
very
stuff is usually freshly killed and then cooked, so it's not aged for 30,
It doesn't
20, 30
have those
days.
deep flavors that
Well,
come with
it's just
aging
different.
and
It-
texture.
how
Just
it
eat it
is.
differently. That's all. We eat it rare. They think it's, they frown on it like, whoa, you can't eat it while it's bloody.
Yeah.
So, and then within America,
Well, we went to Memphis when we were doing
I've
our
been to
research. We ate through
Dallas.
a lot of barbecue. Yeah, Dallas.
New Orleans and then points between. I had barbecue
Florida.
in Kansas City.
We liked Memphis style the best. We love pork, both of us. So, and that's more pork than anything else. And I just like the way it's served. Sauce is always on the side. None of the places we went to were basting except for one place, Rendezvous.
Yeah.
That was more of a tourist joint where I know everybody talks about it, but to me it was not as good as
Not that interesting.
Not as
the
authentic.
commissary.
Very, very famous.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
But
wasn't
not
as
that
good as
good.
the
It was okay.
commissary. Yeah, it was okay.
And what do you eat when you're not eating barbecue?
I eat
Asian.
Yeah.
yeah, but I eat a lot of everything.
Yeah.
Vietnamese.
Vietnamese?
Yeah.
One of your favorites?
Yeah.
I mean, we live in the city where it's cheap to eat Asian, right? Like cheap.
Yes, very
So-
cheap. So I find it hard when they open the sort of high-end Asian restaurants and you're used to going out with your...
For a bowl of noodles for $5.
I wish
Yeah.
they would have a high-end Vietnamese place in town. They don't.
Yeah.
They have high-end everything else, but not Vietnamese.
No, I can't say that I've run
But
into
George
one
and I,
either.
being of course late night restaurant guys, would always go out together and eat at congee, noodle house, places like that, where you can get food till 2 or 3 in the morning, and that's really, really one of my distinct memories of when we opened this place. We were always going there.
Always late night snacking. And then finally, tell us what's on your Elvis platter.
Well, it's not our largest platter, believe it or not. The Priscilla is,
Okay.
because she trumps
Well,
Elvis
what
any
is
day.
on the Priscilla platter then?
All 6 meats,
Yeah.
ribs, pulled pork, brisket, sausage, chicken, rib ends, and then the sides, slaw beans, cornbread, potato salad, fries, and then also oysters, catfish, and shrimp. And it's really for about 10 or 12
So that's the
people.
difference
It's
with
like
the
a
Priscilla.
big
There's seafood
feed.
as well as
Yeah,
the...
plus
okay.
extra meat. So yeah, it's an Elvis plus, and then there's seafood.
And what does that run you?
120, 30,
39
And
139.
it'll feed how many people?
10, 12,
10.
14,
Yeah.
depends.
Maybe 14.
It's a killer
14 girls.
value.
Yeah.
$10 a head. It's almost
Yeah.
like eating cheap Asian food for that kind of variety and that kind of quantity.
Yeah, it's a smorgasbord in a pack.
It's, craziness.
Yeah.
Well, that answers a few of my questions, and
Great.
I guess you'll be looking forward to selling some of your rubs
Gift
over
packs,
the
yeah,
Christmas
for sure.
holidays.
Yeah,
and,
yeah. And soon they'll be, like in the spring, we'll probably launch in
into
retail stores.
And when
But
we
right
do
now
that,
it's just
we'll
in
probably
the
do some
restaurant.
demos
Yeah.
at these stores, do some cooking, and hopefully somebody will have a couple of barbecues that we can actually play on as well. And I think what would be good too is to use these sauces and rubs, in a kitchen. Like some people that live downtown, especially in apartments, they can't have a barbecue.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? That's
And we should add that these are all made with the same ingredients that we use here, and they're all natural ingredients, no additives, no preservatives. So they are
Yeah.
exactly
They're the real
what you
thing,
get here.
what
yeah.
you
So
get
the
here.
sauces are heat pasteurized, so they will last in your fridge. The rubs do not have silicone dioxide in there, so you
So
do
they-
have to shake it up before you use
Okay.
it. It might clump, but clumping does not mean that it's gone bad
No.
or it's stale or anything like
Just
that.
a bit of
It's
moisture getting in
natural.
there,
Yeah.
probably.
Exactly, they're all natural ingredients, so they'll settle. So just give it a shake and everything reincorporates.
Okay, well, thanks very much for
welcome.
Well, thank
letting
you.
me eavesdrop on your barbecuing tips, and
That's
guess we'll
good.
just look forward to a good holiday season.
Thank you. You
Lots
too.
of
Yeah,
good
yeah.
tips.